Imprisoned, enslaved and tortured, having all of his freedom taken away from him and being left with no purpose. But how did we go from this crying naive kid with a childlike wonder for the world to someone who has seemingly lost all hope and reason to live, even being forced to betray his own kind, thus being exiled from his village, and ultimately losing his best friend at the hands of someone he thought he could trust, and all that in the pursuit of true peace. This is the tale of Just a Goblin's Nog. But first, let me just show you the world. So we experienced this story from the perspective of goblins. And I mean, look at these cute fellas. This is nothing like Goblin Slayer told us. Oh, and now they're being brutally massacred by adventurers. How nice. The arts, they totally didn't trick me. And this is where we are introduced to our protagonist, Nog, and his best friend Gubble. These two are like inseparable. In this world, it's pretty common for goblins to die, so losing a sibling isn't anything monumental. Like when Gubble found out that her sibling died, she was like, I thought he died last week, which firstly is kinda messed up, but secondly, this shows you the kind of world the goblins live in, and how deep of a connection Gubble and Nog have, for them to be able to care to such an extent for each other. Because after capturing and questioning an adventurer, as to why they hunt goblins, he gets a system after accidentally killing the adventurer. Yes, it's a sister manhwa again. You know what, maybe I was wrong about them. Anyways, after fleeing the scene from more adventurers, both Nog and Gubble split up, and they don't know if the other is still alive. And you can just tell how distressed they both are when looking for each other, and the relief in their eyes as their gazes meet, and when they reunite with a hug knowing that everything is still fine. Their friendship is just that significant, that even after hundreds of siblings died, they can care that much for each other. But now let's just talk about Nog for a second, because when it comes to being a goblin, he's kinda odd. Normally, they are simple-minded brutes, but here on the other hand, he's quite crafty, creating contraptions and thinking about how to end the goblin's suffering. Because the one goal that he strives for, even in the beginning, is peace between humans and monsters. And that's why he decides to become an adventurer to get that bridge. And one of the first companions he makes is someone named Tyros. First, he's an incredibly kind person, but he seems to grow more and more frustrated because he doesn't think he's strong enough. And seeing Nog progress so fast makes him even more insecure. Him lacking strength reminds him of the time that he couldn't protect his family and had to watch as they were all eaten by monsters. And this is how Nog's journey starts. And for a while everything is fine. He gets stronger and closer to humans, but there are always situations where he has to make compromises. He's almost forced by Tyros' best friend, Goliath, to participate in the goblins' extermination, but dodges that bullet by killing the forest guardian, which is really bad for all monsters in the forest. And that's the intriguing part about Just a Goblin, because Nog's ideals are constantly challenged. He is painfully aware of how cruel humans can be. He has seen it a million times, yet still strives for peace. That could very much be the ideal of a naive child, or someone refusing to yield no matter what. But even so, it feels like the world is fighting against Nog, because now he even sees it from the adventurer's side, the way goblins are hunted. And Nog is not without flaws. Over the course of the story, you can see how his focus seems to shift from wanting peace to obtaining power. He gets power hungry as a result of the system, and because of one important detail in his backstory. He was always looked down upon, because he was weak and an outcast, Gubble being the one that freed him from his isolation. And even though Gubble isn't really a smart character, she picks up on that and confronts Nog multiple times. She may not be as crafty as Nog, but she's much more emotionally mature than him, even questioning his ideals, seeing as they are always forced to compromise. And this gets to a point where Gubble is in tears, asking Nog, all you seem to care about is getting stronger. How can this danger be worth it when we don't even know why we're on this adventure? And here Gubble is completely right, because in this situation they're preparing for the war against orcs, another monster species, and him participating in the war means that he will aid the humans in the monsters' extermination. So Gubble is right. Who are we doing this for? A war against monsters certainly doesn't result in peace. It just shows that Nog is willing to compromise on his morals, if it's for the greater good. And Gubble leaves this interaction, saying that this will be their last adventure together. In the war, Nog eventually ends up fighting the leader of the orcs, Onikuro. And in their brief interaction, Nog tries to persuade the orc king to make him consider peace. But what can you really say to someone that had a homeland unjustifiably invaded? But what truly sealed the deal was when Goliath mentions the orc that he killed, which Nog didn't actually do, but that was still enough for Onikuro to not consider peace. And then after being knocked out by Onikuro, he sees a dream world where yet again, his ideals are questioned. Do you still want to strive for peace? Even though that could lead to you standing atop a mountain of your brethren's corpses? Is that peace really worth the risk? Yet Nog still holds on and says, yeah, I would at least like to try that. And then after waking up, he still wants to convince Unikuro. And then following a long and grueling battle, Unikuro says one thing. You want peace? Come on. I'll crush your pathetic race, along with your silly fantasies and ideals. And that made something snap inside Nog. He was always an outcast, always the weakest. His contraptions always failed, always looked down upon. So Nog just says, you know, part of me wishes everyone would stop looking down on me so much. Then after an all-out battle with the Orc King, in which Nog comes out on top, he still chooses peace. Because no matter what happens, he always holds on to his ideals. Though Goliath had other plans, as he kills Unikuro and then turns to Nog. Because he knows that he's a goblin, and he has a burning hatred for them. So Nog is forced to kill Goliath. Tyros ends up unable to draw a sword, due to it not answering to him anymore. Gubble was forced to fight more monsters. In the end, no one really won in the Orc War, only sacrifices were made. In the aftermath, Tyros grows incredibly depressed, as Goliath was his best friend. Nog lied, saying that he died in the fight with the Orc King. Following that, Nog and Gubble seem to be going home together. And as Nog and Gubble return to their village, he turns around and says that he can't end it just yet. And Gubble then says, me? Or this life as an adventurer. But Nog still has unfinished business. He just can't let go of his dream just yet, so he chooses to leave. And this is the exact moment everything falls apart. Because Tyros realized the one who killed Goliath was Nog, as he recognizes the dents in Goliath's armor belonging to a weapon that he once gifted to Nog. And Gubble actually changed her mind and came looking for Nog, but that turned out to be one of the greatest mistakes she could have made, as she was then confronted by Tyros. He then proceeds to attack her and break her mask, revealing that she's a goblin, and so they hunt her. But Nog is going back to the village as well, looking for Gubble. So we're going back to that scene from the very beginning, when Nog and Gubble are looking for each other in distress. And just like back then, Gubble falls into Nog's arms. Though this time, it's not a reunion, but a goodbye, as Tyros has impaled her with his sword. And in this very moment, Nog probably regrets all of his decisions. Peace between monsters and humans? That very ideal just got his best friend killed. Could his ideas ever have been reality? Or was he just chasing the stupid dream of a kid? Normally, stories tend to give their protagonist minimal obstacles. Other manhwa would have rewarded Nog for having these ideals, for wanting peace between monsters and humans. But that's the easy thing to do. Just a goblin pushes against his protagonist. This ideal of his gets challenged over and over again, fighting in a war for the humans, when he has to betray his own kind, always being looked down upon for chasing that dream. But the one special quality that Nog had was that he still believed that he was doing it for the right cause. But now, standing in a pool of his brethren's blood, while having been forced to bloody his hands over and over again, with Gubble's lifeless body in his arms, one question keeps lingering. Did I do the right thing? All his ideals ever did was betray him. Him wanting peace led to the death of his best friend. Maybe peace was never an option. And the one to blame for that is Tyros. So they both fight, with everything at their disposal. Monsters versus humans, how it's always been, and how it always will be. And as Nog prepares for the finishing blow, looking down at someone he once called a friend, he says, as much as I want to, I refuse to keep fueling this cycle. I'm done. Even after everything that happened, he just can't do it. He just can't abandon his ideals, his dream. Because if he were to kill Tyros now, all the effort would have been for naught. Even though he has lost everything, he still holds on to that. Even after everything he's seen, even after everything that's happened, that is how you show a character's conviction. Even when the world is against them, even when everything seems to be telling them to give up, these characters are certainly not ones who have been given the easy way out. They are not constantly rewarded for their good deeds, but people who have seen the worst of the world, people who have been broken down in every possible way, and yet they still choose to believe. That is what makes a true hero. But Tyros? He's different in that regard. He's completely changed and proceeds to almost kill Nog, but is stopped as they let him be transported to the Infinity Prison. And this brings us to the beginning of the video. Nog at this point is fundamentally broken. Nothing but a shell of his former self. He has no will to live anymore. And I feel like this story poses an interesting question. How far are you willing to go for your ideals? And how far can you go until your ideals become delusions? Did Nog do the right thing, or would things have been better if he never left his village? But no matter what the answer may be, I'm sure that Nog will get back up to his feet, because that is just who he is.